I was kept going back to what felt safe, what felt familiar, and where I felt in control. Feeling smart, feeling capable made it really easy to ignore the work that needed to be done.
So how did it hit harder the second time? What was the shift?
All the background chatter, all the if, buts, and maybes, they're all gone. It was all just no questions, don't need any more help. I just need to get to execution now.
So why were you so skeptical about the second time around in the arena and if it actually got you results?
Yeah, I came in with low expectations because the first time around had already delivered such massive personal breakthroughs for me. So honestly, I didn't expect another major shift. So coming in second time round, I knew the drill, I knew the process. I was impressed that like a lot of the techniques had changed, so I couldn't rely on how it had worked before. But yeah, no, you got me. I didn't expect it to hit as hard again.
So how did it hit harder the second time? What was the shift?
Yeah, the shift was all the wins, all the personal breakthroughs that I'd had in, what got me to where I am now. Um, they had already happened, and there were mindset changes that I've made effectively. So, like thinking more like an executive versus thinking like an operator. Instead of saying, "What can I do to fix this?" It was more, "What can I create to help this problem be solved? Who do I need to bring in?" I'd done that, but the problem was in the day to day work outside of the area that I set for deep work. I was still defaulting to operator behavior. I was still making excuses to work on my product. I was still making excuses to jump into operator mode. Um, Ultimately, what you helped me to realize, though, and once you pointed this out to me, it was like I couldn't unsee it. It was I just I was kept going back to what felt safe, what felt familiar, and where I felt competent, like where I really felt like I was in control. I had all this other work that I had to do to grow the business, to get to the next level. Yeah, and I wasn't doing it. I was defaulting back to that behavior.
So question, man, because this is something that I feel like you understood intellectually the first go around.
Hmm.
What do you think enabled that to really sink in deep enough, perhaps, to really get to that point where you're like, okay, I can't deny this anymore?
Honestly, it's because you can see it only on a level. There's a level that you can intellectually understand what's going on. You can know at the end of the day, did I really do what I needed to do? But it just becomes so easy to push that down and replace it with, yeah, but I built this feature. Yeah, but this customer asked for this. So instead of trying to get new customers, which is what I need, I just focused on looking after this existing customer. It just became easier to push all those scary thoughts, the work that needed to be done, and replace it with that operator mode. Yeah, but look at how productive I'm being. So that's where the intellectual layer just it got squashed down by the operator effort. And that's where I say like feeling smart, feeling capable made it really easy to ignore that. So where you helped me break through was flipping the script on that. Like, why aren't you doing this stuff that is unsafe, that is unknown, that is unfamiliar, that you might look like an idiot. You might make mistakes. You might not be perfect. It was like, whoa. Once you pulled that rug out from under me, it was
Yep.
like, yeah, that's when it really clicked, when all the layers came together.
Yeah, it's like that whole, we all want to grow, but we don't want to feel stupid. And it's that accepting
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
it
yeah,
comes
yeah.
together.
Yeah, I
And
wanna
it's
grow, but
this
just
weird
not like
thing.
that.
Yeah, I don't want to feel bad about growing. I just want it to all be rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
it's this weird thing where what I've noticed is that when we're being very efficient, it feels really good. But often when we're actually being very effective, it feels very confusing. Because in order to be effective, we have to be able to sit in some ambiguity for a while and say, what is the actual thing we need to be doing? And that feels scary because it feels like how you're saying a lack of control. Like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do right now. I'm not doing anything. Is something wrong here? However, it's the thing that needs to be done. It's just very uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. As I still remember when you told me, like, sit with it, be uncomfortable with it. Don't Don't weasel your way out of it. Don't go back to what you know. Don't go back to feeling competent. Yeah, what again, I I would have loved to have done that first time round, but I just wasn't there yet. I had too many other things that I needed to iron out. The second time round, that's when it really sunk in for me. So,
This is a bit of an odd question for you, but what do you
sure.
think I could have done better on my end to help you get to that the first go around?
You know, I'm not sure that you could, um, because I had developed a certain mindset, um, a certain way of operating where I was a one man army. I took too much pride in everything that I did. So when I came out of the first time through the arena coaching program, I, I was really happy with sort of crushing that mindset, replacing it with an executive level mindset. I don't think that that message would have come through. So I don't hold you to that, and I don't know that you could have effectively gotten through to me. I think it was a matter of, once the student is willing, the teacher will reappear. Um, I yeah, I needed to go through those changes. I had to make a lot of changes within my SaaS portfolio as well, and other companies, and realize what was lacking there. They all required the personal growth. It was only once I'd gone through that personal growth and really stopped operating on an operator level in my portfolio and actually elevated myself to be a portfolio CEO and let me think of my portfolio like a portfolio, not just as, hey, where can Alan come in and operate in his zone of genius here? But it was like, does this company serve me? Does this business partnership serve me? Am I giving the most support I can possibly give to my business partner, or am I checking out and leaving that problem to them?
Yeah.
That's why I sort of say, like, I needed to have that shift, but then it was when I got stuck back in that operator mode, despite the executive level thinking that was taking place. That's where you kind of got me out of my own head there.
Would it be accurate to say that we were able to shift the first go around? We were able to shift what's called thought patterns, but not the behavioral patterns. And the second time, because the thought patterns were clear, we had runway to actually change the behaviors.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a fantastic way of putting it. Like the like I said, I'm as your book describes it, I'm the go harder guy. I'm the quintessential, wow, I just ran into that brick wall and it didn't break. So I'm gonna run it a harder next time and see if I can break it down again. Rather than
Go
go,
head
oh,
first into it.
I can go around this wall, I can climb over it. Yeah, yeah. I'm like
Yeah.
that. So
So I want to actually dive into that because
yeah,
one of the things you said after the second arena is like that this has just become 95% easier. The business, everything.
100%. Yeah.
Why is that? Because like I understand that, but I'd love to hear
Mhm.
from your perspective.
Yeah, it once I stopped looking at, like, how can I fix everything, and there was also a little bit of pressure, like you call the pressure performance bell curve. I was putting so much pressure on myself to fix everything. So the first go of the arena sorted that out for me. But that's what, to your point of your earlier question, that's what enabled the second go round of the arena to clear my mind towards, okay, if I know that this is happening, then why am I still coming into operator mode? Why
Yeah.
why am I able to sit down and do a strategic review? For me, it was every Monday morning. I set 2 hours aside to review the week before and the week ahead, because I was finally able to leave weekends clear and not work, not think on weekends about business, just be present with my family. Um, but yeah, I just kept defaulting back into it. So it was that's where I needed you to pull me out, to point out where basically I was still failing. I was still failing in my goal. Once I could see that, then I could go, well, why am I doing this? The 95% easier came from, I was like, still putting my head down when it came time to do work. I was still putting my head down and still charging towards the brick wall instead of going, hang on, is this actually the way to achieve my goals? Now, you would think that would be something that a strategy consultant would say right from the start. But but I wasn't able to because I had all this other stuff in the way that I had to get rid of. Um, Once that was all clear, that's when all of a sudden the mist clears, the fog clears, and you're able to go, hang on, is this really the path? Like it was only once all that stuff had cleared that I could actually ascertain, oh no, I've structured this business based around um what what the common, business meta is. This is the ideal business model. So I was trying to build a SaaS. All my
Yeah.
experience, all my business wins have been in consulting and working with and for agencies, running agencies. That doesn't translate to SaaS marketing. That wasn't clear to me until I was able to, pull myself out of the weeds and elevate up to executive thinking.
So why do you think that wasn't clear to you? Like, there's obviously the emotional aspect that we all crave certain things. But what do you think pulled you or attracted you to a business model that quote unquote looked ideal, but wasn't ideal for you?
So the biggest learning for me, which it still sounds weird to say, but the biggest learning for me in the first go of the arena was actually learning what vulnerability meant. Um, I've heard about it. I've heard about gratitude and all these sorts of things, but it didn't resonate with me until going through the arena and talking to people about how I talked before versus how I talked after. All of a sudden, people were saying to me like, "I, I always felt like I was in your way, or that like I wasn't getting the full story." Um, it's like totally caught me off guard because I thought I was really good at explaining the vision, explaining what we're working on, and what I need someone to do as a contractor, as an employee, or whomever to help us achieve our goal. I was terrible at it. It turned out because I was just trying to figure out, no, what is Alan's job? What does Alan need to get done? Okay, I'm going to structure you. I'm going to give you something to do so you can go do it. But really, I know I'm going to have to do that. That's where I
Hmm.
was getting caught, and that's where I was getting stuck in my own head. Um, it was only once I'd got that out of the way, once I'd stopped thinking like that and behaving like that, that I was able to move forward. Does that make sense?
It does. Can I say it in a bit of a different way to see if it resonates with you?
Please, yeah, as you always do.
I think you knew the field, but you didn't know yourself as the player. And because you didn't have both those components locked in, it created the challenge. Like, there's a quote I love by Sun Tzu. I just looked it up from The Art of War. It
Mm,
says that if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. And if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. And I feel like a lot of times you're in that middle ground. That
oh,
if you know
100%.
yourself, yeah, that it's that enemy within. Like, you
Yeah,
were able to still win, but there was also a price that came with it every single time.
absolutely. Yeah, and that price was what I was getting sick and tired of. Like, I was sick and tired of repetitive burnouts, um, you know, even ending up in hospital, in extreme cases, which completely caught me out of left field. And again, the reason I said the vulnerability is because I was only looking at what I could do as me as a player. What can I do on the field to win this
Yeah.
game? When it's a team game that ultimately I'm playing. So a star player like rugby was my passion. That was my sport. Um, a star player can't can't win for a rugby team. You need the team to work together cohesively to get to the goal, and that's where I was the guy always running ahead. Look at me. And then I'd lose the ball because I'd go too far. I'd run away from my support. And that's the feedback that I was able to get. And once I recognized that, once I understood how I wasn't using the team to help us all move forward together, that I was trying to drag the team kicking and screaming. And that honestly, that was my mindset. But before doing Arena 1 and 2 was I was stuck in that mindset of like, if it is to be, it is to me. Someone told me that quote. They were actually trying to use it as like an example of
A
what.
negative thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Arrogant.
I went, no, no, exactly, exactly. And they were like, oh, no, 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 not like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
so now I
think
have a better understanding of my skills and frankly my weaknesses. I think it's
yeah.
not only helped me to see the game, but actually to see, where do I actually play? Because, like I said, I know I can break the line and run ahead, but I'll run too far and I'll lose the ball every time. So,
Yeah, it was so this past Friday, I did a training for a couple entrepreneurs. It was a group of 7 people, and literally all of them had at least 9-figure companies.
hmm,
And one of the guys, he had I think they were around like 300, and he kept asking me throughout the workshop, but like, how do I just like hold myself accountable more, or how can I just like not have to have someone push me, and I just like always have push and always feel motivated. And finally, by the end of the workshop, I was like, you have to let go of the self-reliance thing. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, self-reliance is a means, it is not an end. Like if you are trying to conquer, like you go up Everest, get the Sherpa, get oxygen bottles, get everything you could possibly need to help you up it. And I think there's a lot of times it's an emotional thing, it's an ego thing,
yeah,
where we want to feel like we are self-reliant and we can figure it all out ourselves or do it all ourselves. But in reality, it's never the advice you would give somebody else.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
figure out your weaknesses, get someone to help you with them. And again, I'm guilty of that too. We all are.
Hmm.
But it's such an interesting thing, that whole, like, this is what I noticed in you, a lot of it was that there's a certain feeling of pride with being very self-reliant.
Yeah,
However,
absolutely.
it is absolutely not effective
Yeah,
in accomplishing your goal.
completely misguided. Completely misguided.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's one of those things that can be a good thing, but when you start optimizing for that, that's when it actually really starts stunting your growth.
I'd actually done some kind of like professional development stuff a few years ago before I met you. And
Mhm.
it was really good, but it left me feeling hollow. It used LSI techniques, which is like an academic base. I don't like woo woo. I don't like quasi science. I like real, you know, science. So this thing had a 360 review and everything, and it basically broke down your management style. And one of the things that came out of that was that yeah, you take too much pride in doing all the work and not in your team achieving the outcome. And I was really disappointed because that's where it stopped. And I was like, cool, we've got a
Mm.
problem diagnosis. Now what do they do? And they're like, so work on it. And um yeah, I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
thank you. So yeah, I'd forgotten about that until I started the arena and did some of the workshops and had to think through some stuff and I thought of all the projects like I fell into this pattern because throughout my career, like 25 years of being a consultant and a gun for hire, project after project, um, client side, my side with my team, contractors, third parties, failing time and time again to deliver what they said when they would say it. And that was something I was raised like. I was raised very heavily that if you say what you do what you say,
Yeah.
basically. And so when I'm working on these project teams, even when I was a junior, right through to when I was, a program manager, um, seeing someone not deliver something, whether it be CSS on a website or fail to deliver graphic design or something, I would just parachute in and save the day. And the irony is in corporate, in consulting, you get rewarded with that. You're the hero. You
Yeah.
save the day. And what's it do? It just reinforces this terrible ego that I had of I'm the
It's
guy.
it,
I
it's
do
it's an
everything.
emotional reward. It's an emotional reward, and I think this is really important to separate. There's a difference between emotional rewards, and real world rewards.
Yeah.
And often, if we're not vigilant, we always get attracted to the emotional ones because they're just easier and they feel better because they're literally just, feelings. But long term, they usually have a negative effect.
Yeah. Yeah. Then that's what
So,
caught up with me. Yeah. What made
so I
me
want to go. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, what made me, like, very financially successful as a consultant and known gun for hire in agency land, because, hey, this guy will literally not let a project fail or go over time or over budget. Um,
Yeah.
it was an absolute anchor and a handbrake at the same time on my personal growth and on my company growth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit though to what you were saying from that program where they said this is your management style, this is the problem, and you're like, okay, but what do we do about it?
yeah.
Now, I'm gonna assume a lot of people listening to this, they're gonna empathize with that. They're like, I have been there, where someone says this is your problem, and then I'm like, all right, I'm stuck, and it doesn't help.
Yeah.
But I do want to challenge that. I have found that we usually have the answers once we're able to get out of our own head. And it is shocking. I think even if we went back to that time and all I did was sit with you in a room and I said, Alan, okay, like, don't think about what you should do. But let's just imagine there's somebody else in a similar situation with your business that needed to change and actually focus more on their leadership, not on doing it themselves.
Person
What
X.
will you say certain, yeah, like person X, that exact exercise we always do.
Yeah.
Okay, what would they do? I'm assuming you would be able to come out with perhaps 90% clarity and a lot of progress.
Yeah. Yeah. It if I'd known that technique back in the day, I would like to have I'd like to think I'd be further along. Absolutely. I struggle with it. Like in Arena V1, like I actually struggled to get out of my own head and let myself think like that. The trick for me
Why do you
was
think that is?
well, the
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know why, but the trick for me was to just turn it into like a role play. Like, okay, I'm back consulting again. I'm trying to deliver a system for this client. This client has this
Mm.
problem. What do I need to do to help them break through that so I can go ahead and deliver this project? And then all of a sudden, it all clicked in. Now I'm fortunately able to just go, okay, you've got a person. This is the scenario. This is the problem. What should they do? And I'm able to remove myself. But it was something I found like strangely challenging. No idea why, but yeah,
Interesting. But you're
you got to
saying
stick
that,
with it.
yeah. So, but before that, the people at home, for example, that
Mhm.
haven't done the program, haven't stuck with it yet.
Sure.
You're saying that the big thing is that what's helped you was that you added more color to this. Instead of just being a principal level, imagine there was someone else. You literally just imagined, okay, there's an individual in front of me. This is how they look. This is how they behave. I'm sitting across the table from them.
Absolutely.
And when you were put more into that kind of like scene, that's when you were able to do this. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, and at a workshop I attended, that you did recently with your book launch, and you walk through your latest iteration of Person X, where you'd said, "Okay, there's a CEO. They've
Yeah.
come on. They're taking over your company. Oh, by the way, they're overweight. They drink too much. They smoke too much. They vape too much. They stay up too late. They don't go to the gym. Oh, they just had twins. Like, and guess what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I literally could not believe the mental unblock that did for me as well. I had to get out my phone and write down a heap of notes, like 1, 2, 3. These are the three things they did, and to your point, like they were three things I've known for ages. They're the core tenants of the business, that I need to do, but, wasn't doing them. That clicked. That was just like, "Okay, there's no excuse now that why these things shouldn't be done." Like, if this terrible CEO can do them, I can do them.
Yeah. I think it's something that I had to learn that, like, how can we get people to not be able to psychologically justify why they can't do something? And
You're not wrong because I'm a master of psychological justification. So that's where
yeah,
you've been able to help me so much is to frankly cut through the crap. Like I can twist and turn, and I think it's too many years of doing agency sales. Got too good at pitch hitting, and I started to pitch hit myself. So it was tremendously helpful to be in the program and have you to just call it out, respectfully, of course, always.
yeah. So, question for you:
Mhm.
we were just talking before we started recording that you were at a conference the other week.
Yeah.
How do you now, in turn, do this for other people? Because I'm sure
Oh,
you're
yeah,
chatting with
yeah,
other
yeah.
people, and so like, what have you seen be successful for you when you're trying to help someone out, and you can obviously see that they're on their own.
Absolutely, the number one thing it's such a small thing, but the number one thing I have learned from you, and I use it just about daily, is your line of, "Can I challenge you on that?" So, instead of it like, old school consulting, I'm just so used I guess, I've seen this pattern before, "Here's what you need to do." And I just, like, put the hat on and deliver the solution. And then you watch someone take it or leave it, but it's just like you can just tell it's just water off a duck's back. Um, that trick of stopping someone, of asking for their permission, like suddenly you see the lights turn on, they're receptive to the idea, and then you watch it land differently. Um,
Yeah.
that's been amazing. And hey, I even use it in sales too.
Yeah. So I'll break it down because I think there's a couple principles at play here.
Yep.
One, it's that whole the Socratic approach of true understanding will only come from self-realization. That we can't tell
Mhm.
someone something. We have to actually
Absolutely.
just get them just an inch from the finish line, so they can be like, ah, I had that epiphany, and that's when
Yep.
it lands. And two, it's just recognizing people don't like to be challenged. Nobody likes to be challenged. Even all the people that like they say they want it, they know they want it, and they know how much it's important for their growth. There's still a part of them
Mhm.
that is an ego, and that's the thing that we need to work around. And whenever we tell someone, "Hey, this is what you should do," or "Where you're wrong," it's an attack. It's an attack on their beliefs. It's an attack on their processes. And all of a sudden, it's me against them.
Yes.
The moment, though, we say, and again, there's different. I'm sure you've experienced different tiers where I go through this. From can I
Oh,
challenge
yeah.
you?
Oh,
I
yeah.
have your
Like,
permission to be honest with you. It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
would you be open to me challenging something with how you're thinking?
Mhm.
It's about just creating a frame where they feel like, okay, this person isn't trying to challenge me. They're trying to help me figure out
Yes.
something that I might be thinking about incorrectly. And that gives the permission for them to actually say, okay, maybe I'm open to thinking about something differently.
For me, it's like, the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It it's like actually asking the horse, "Hey, are you thirsty?"
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're like, "You know what? Like, look, there's water right here. I am thirsty." So, yeah, it's been really useful. And like you say, like, we're entrepreneurs. We know what we're doing. We know what we need to do, but there's stuff in the way. So that's the other part, like, asking that or not asking that, um, but leading people to come up with the idea themselves. That's been the big thing. In my capacity as a manager, I
I was
have
just going to
been
lead to that.
guilty.
Like, how are you
Yeah,
taking this into your business as well, not just with other friends?
yeah, and again, it's like it's kind of that ego thing from being like, the hero of the project, like, and all the kudos that you get for that. And look, let's face it, in my circumstance, that was referrals were my business. So that really helped me financially and in business, to be known as this guy makes these technical projects happen. Um, so that means when you're in a management capacity, you're like, hey, I, I'm the expert here. I know all the answers, so I'm going to tell you what to do. You naturally shut down your contractor, your employee, even client side teams. You shut them down because they're like, oh, okay. You put them in this scenario where they know that you're not receptive. You're actually
Yeah.
giving a directive. So by eliminating that from my work style, from instead being like, my first port of call is like, okay, this is what I think the objective is. Do you agree? And it's like straight away I brought them in on board, rather than going, cool, this is the objective, this is what we're going to do to achieve it. So it's
Can
completely
I
changed it.
can I offer an add-on to that, an upgrade?
Please, yeah, yeah.
We have to align to people's incentives.
Mm,
So one of the things that I have found to be very effective in galvanizing people together is even when I'm offering a solution, is not even get them to agree on the solution, but to say, okay, this is what you're trying to achieve, correct? This is the goal, what they've stated before. And it's funny because just by me stating that, they already feel like, okay, this guy gets it. He's already thinking about me, not himself. They okay, great. So from what I've seen, the easiest way to get you guys to here is by doing X. And by simply using that frame and saying those things, it's amazing how much everything kind of adds up. Saying
yep,
like,
yep,
this is what you want, right? Great. From what you're saying, this is what you want. This is how I think we can get there. How much of a
yes.
difference it makes instead of just saying this is the thing I think we should do.
And that's where I was super guilty because it wasn't we, it was, this is how you can get me there.
Yeah.
So again, these are things that I never thought were a problem. But they were the things holding me back. So that was the eye opener.
Cool, man. So first off, I appreciate you coming on the pod today. Is there anything that you want to bring up? You feel like we didn't bring up, but this is monumental or important, or just something that you kind of want to say?
I I think for me, at the end of the program, the thing that was the best, like, was the mental clarity that I had about the steps I had to take going forward. all the background chatter, all the if, buts, and maybes, they're all gone. It was all just no questions, don't need any more help. I just need to get to execution now. Um, that that was the best outcome for me.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is that we talked again a little bit about this off air about how vulnerability and like things that you mentioned or so on can feel very fluffy and can turn people off.
Absolutely. Yep.
But the reality is like it's not the goal. The goal isn't to be vulnerable and then be in a singing circle and all hold hands and kumbaya. It
Yeah.
is kind of just a part of the path that needs to be taken on a very pragmatic level. There needs to be a vulnerable exposure of our faulty thinking patterns or fears or concerns in order to be able to say, okay, this is what needs to get addressed. And therefore, after we figure this out, we can now really move forward, which is the goal.
And on the faulty thinking patterns, I realized like for 40 years of my life, I was looking at feelings and emotions as these things that I needed to turn off to be able to achieve
Mm.
my goals. So in business, like you're tired, so what? Like the project's got to get done. Push through to 3 o'clock in the morning and wake up at 5, the usual wake up because that's what's got to be done. Don't listen to your body when when it's complaining and saying no, like you actually need this day off. Um, the vulnerability for me was actually realizing the lesson that you were teaching me was like feelings and emotions aren't something like especially anger at someone not doing something the way that you wanted it done. Like it's redirection. It's like referred pain in your knee when it's really your hip that's the
Yeah.
problem. It was the wake up call for me that I'm actually turning off a sense, and now I make better decisions. I have less if buts and maybes because I can tap into okay, how am I feeling about this? Why am I anxious about this? Or why am I angry about this? And it's like, oh, I'm angry about this because I knew this was a problem, but I was rushed and I didn't take the time to give proper instructions. That's why I'm angry. So now I know what I need to do. I need to reframe the instructions around this and make sure that we're working in the right direction. So, yeah, again,
Yeah.
can't thank you enough for your help there.
Pleasure. And just to add a little ripple to that, first, I think what you said is great. And we need to recognize their emotions. They're trying to signal something often.
Mm, mm.
Now, is there a time to suppress them? Absolutely. That's the first thing. There is a time. It's like if, like how you said, your knee hurts, but you're, at kilometer 35 of the marathon, it'll be all right. You go through it. Yeah. But it's thinking about it, is this an acute period of stress where we have a giant launch that we do once a year or a giant hire that we're making and hopefully like I set the company up for the next 3 years and I just got to push through and it's difficult? Or is this just chronically how it is? Because if it's chronically how it is and I just try to suppress these signals that something is off, like how you said earlier, like we end up hitting burnout. And I've seen this a lot with people that almost get hospitalized because this whole system just crashes because you're not willing to listen to how you said it really well, those signals. So I
Yep,
think it's
yep.
just being aware that yes, you don't have to become an emotionally, in tuned super feeler, whatever it may be, but you just gotta know
People
how to
say I'm
listen to
not
it.
either.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's the thing. A lot of people are afraid. There's a fear that if I start listening to my emotions, I'm gonna stop. But the reality is it's gonna make you more effective because you don't have to all of a sudden be an emotional mess. You can just recognize, okay, these are cognitive signals that are not
Yeah,
we
yeah,
get
yeah.
clear on how to interpret. So instead of it being something that I know what the solution is, I'm like, I feel angry. I feel anxious.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
okay, just figure out why is that? What's the pattern here? What is the root cause? And then fix it. And then also to recognize you're still gonna have the ability just to honestly at times tune it out when you need to tune it out.
Yeah. For me, the biggest impact that had immediately after the arena was I was sitting in a particular business meeting. Um, I was addressing an issue in the company, and I got the usual line that I always get back, which up until that point I just been shrugging off. The reason I've been shrugging off is because it was a complete and utter cop out from an employee, and I didn't feel that I could actually pull on the thread. I didn't feel that I could dig
Mm,
deeper because I would explode. So the only way that I could give feedback to this employee about this particular problem, this ongoing problem, was by losing it. So therefore, I suppressed those emotions. I kept my mouth shut and I put up with it, knowing that one day it's going to happen. One day I'm going to snap. And then I remember talking to you about this particular issue and you telling me to give myself permission to listen to the emotion, okay, to listen to the feedback. What's it telling me? Go beyond the anger, sit with the anger, and then listen to what's behind the anger. And I was shrugging off, so what? Like, I kept on saying, so what? And you were like, no, 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 it's not that it's okay and you need to push it to the side. It's that you need to recognize that this is a significant issue. You're not happy with it and it doesn't marry up to standards, et cetera, et cetera. And
Yeah.
I need to get the big win for me was how you said, I need to give myself permission to voice it and not, not yell and scream, but just voice that this is not okay. This does not meet my standard. Um,
Yeah.
that's all I had to do. And the day that I did that and seeing the result, like seeing the pattern finally broken and, performance improving and things like that, it was just like, how have I kept my mouth shut for so long? And how have I not listened to those feelings, emotions, being vulnerable? Um, so yeah,
Can I have first thought?
huge. Yeah, please.
What I've noticed in a lot of clients, but also in myself, is that oftentimes when we're not 100% clear on exactly what the feedback needs to be, we're
Mhm.
hesitant.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and it's like and it's interesting, but what I've noticed is that you can also, like how you said, give yourself permission. Just give yourself permission to say something here is off. I can tell right now this isn't up to standard. I can't explain to you exactly why, which honestly, like, it's difficult to say that because we want to feel authoritative and say this is exactly why it's not up to standard, so you can't refute me and I am in the right. But it's also okay to
There's
tell an
especially
employee like
value in that.
this. Yeah, and all of us. And I think this was for me a big breakthrough as well, just to be able to say, hey,
Yeah,
this is not up to standard. I can't pinpoint exactly why right now, but something in the blink test is off.
mhm,
And the sooner we can do that, the paradox is that the sooner we can do that, the less tension there's going to be in the conversation because the less tension we built in ourselves.
yeah,
And instead of it coming across 2 months later as like it's boiled up, I'm really upset, you need to fix this. Say, hey, something's just off here. I can't explain why, I can't get my eye around it, but like this isn't your best work. And like this
yeah,
needs to be
yeah.
fixed, needs to be addressed. And
We
it's just about that permission.
we already know that you don't attack don't attack the player, attack the game. For me, you just taught me how to actually go about that. As someone who is prone to bursts of anger, shall we say? So rather than suppressing that, I was able to listen to that and take action. And
Yeah.
action that wasn't yelling and screaming at people. So win win.
Yeah.
I would like to say that the material impact that going through the arena the first time around had on all of my relationships. So not just business relationships, but also my personal relationships. Um, I wasn't really prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that much personal growth, to put it bluntly.
Mm.
And when I talk to the guys at the alum meetups, this is something that gets echoed time and time again. So I think that any business owner, if you're not doing some level of personal and professional development every year or so, you're going to stagnate personally and professionally. So, yeah, I couldn't recommend this program enough. I think it ticks both boxes. And again, I'm very gracious to you for your help.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much for the kind words.
My
Cool.
pleasure.
Cool. Again, so Alan, I want to say thank you very much for coming on. If anybody wants to find you, reach out, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, so I run a company called Sales Pulse. We're a productized service agency for wholesalers and distributors. We help them spot changes in customer behavior before it shows up in the numbers. So you can hit us up at salespulse.com.au.
Awesome, man. Again, thank you very much for coming on, and we will see you
Absolute
guys in the
pleasure.
next episode.